Okay, let's check the stream and see where we are. I believe we are live. Let's check. Yes. People who are live. Me. I'm watching myself. Okay. Okay. Alright. Let's go ahead and play the music then. So there we are.
白岩学園3年 B 組の皆さん、こんにちは。
Well, good morning. Okay, looks like we are all here, and by we, I mean me, and of course, the usual. How's it going, guys? Alright, so, I did a test earlier today, and I'm super stoked about it. Oh, neat. I just realized that, yeah, I got an email that I was looking forward to from earlier today, so that's nice. Sorry about that, excuse me. I guess I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about just a subject that came to mind more than anything else. Earlier today, I was listening to a stream that didn't really seem to go much of anywhere, and I found myself kind of bummed out about it because I should transition to my favorite image. Boom, there we are. I was listening to a stream that wasn't going much of anywhere that I thought was interesting, and what bummed me out about it was that the purported topic was of interest, and I guess I'd like to just speak a little bit about the topic that I was interested in speaking on. Or maybe discussing. I guess that's probably a better descriptor, discussing. Since it'll just be myself, it's not really so much of a discussion as borderline monologue. I get it. Anyway, the topic was the state of the alt-right, where it is, where it's come from, and where it's going. And the way that it was phrased, the way that it was posed, indicated that the alt-right was on the descend rather than the ascend. Instead of being ascended, moving upwards, it's descending, moving downwards. I don't believe this is the case. I really don't. And the reason that I don't believe that this is the case is because it's increasingly difficult. Okay, so what is the alt-right all about? In my opinion, the alt-right actually is about demographics. It is about the differences between groups of people and how they interact. Sorry, the insomnia is coming back again. This is terrible. Anyway, it's about groups and how they interact. That's just the way that I see it. And let's see here. Sin says the alt-right is just a brand. The ideas are ascendant. Exactly. Precisely this is the case. Because it's the ideas that are important. The word alt-right doesn't really mean much. Not to me anyway. If a person calls me alt-right, I generally say, yeah, okay, fine, cool, whatever, moving on. I just sort of passively agree and then continue on. But I do the same with just about everything anyway. The point, though, is the ideas behind it. The idea of race realism, group dynamics. Yeah, I mean, see here. I guess now that I think about it, it might be a good idea to really get a clear gauge on, because I remember Vox Day, he put together some kind of a 16-point list or something like that, or a 13-point list of what the alt-right was. Maybe I should look into that. I read it one time, and I largely agreed with it, but I think I should go ahead and do it again. The point is, and I want to go back up to chat because it looks like there are things going on in the chat that are definitely of interest and very relevant to the topic. I honestly think that once a person notices what's going on in civilization, once a person notices that whites are being discriminated against and they're being ethnically cleansed from their homelands, I think that the concepts that are core to the alt-right, they become reflexive, they become natural. Even though I still don't formally identify as alt-right, I still find myself very amenable, very sympathetic to the ideas. If there was a person who was running on an alt-right campaign, running for political office, I would vote for them without hesitation. It'd be the first thing I would look for. I'm kind of bummed out that such a candidate has not presented him or herself. At any rate, him or herself, that's funny. Anyway, the point is simply that I don't see the alt-right as being in the descending phase. I see it in the ascending phase. I see it as on the rise, especially within Generation Z. I was late to the game for many reasons, but I was late to the game, and I recognize that. But at the same time, I did recognize it. If a middle-aged guy can recognize it, a paused and indoctrinated middle-aged guy can recognize reality and start to acknowledge it and recognize it for what it is, then surely there is hope. surely others must be in the same boat. Rather, there must be other people who are experiencing the same thing as myself. I don't think I've heard of... Okay, I might have... I think Cucked Spartan... I think he was alt-light. So I'm trying to think of anyone, if I can think of anyone who has gone from alt-right back to being blue-pilled. And I can't think of anyone. I think that once you get the idea in your head, it's pretty much impossible to go back. Because I can't think of anyone going back to being blue-pilled. Once you understand race realism, that's pretty much it. You know, facts are facts, the end. That's it. At any rate, yeah, I see this as being on the rise simply because the ideas are core. And the ideas, they reflect reality. They describe and discuss reality. So if we're talking about an idea set that refers to reality, I think that it can only really be on the ascendant. I mean, fundamentally, absent huge amounts of brainwashing, which I fully recognize. The government and media, they are engaged in formal brainwashing. They are engaged in indoctrination. But the problem is that these ideas, they're so powerful that let me rephrase that. Reality itself is much more powerful than fiction. So, you know, as an example, a person can tell you that the sky is green. That doesn't make it green. Everyone will recognize the sky as being blue. They might pretend to others that the sky is green, but in their heart, they will know. They will just look up and they will see the sky is not green. So it's in this sense that I think that the truth simply prevails. It's just the way that it is. And I think that the alt-right is more or less... it's just going to happen. It's inevitable. Reality is reality, and people are noticing reality more and more every day. I've noticed a few people who are paused discussing things in quasi-alt-light, alt-right terms. I think that's interesting in itself. So I don't think it's on the descent. If a normie can recognize it, even in their own limited way, if I can recognize it in middle-aged, then it's got legs. It's going to go places. So I don't think if anyone ever tries to convince you that you're wrong, or that you should give up, or that everything is going to go sour or south, just dismiss them, toss them off. Just don't worry about that, because it's not the case. Reality is reality at all times, and it cannot be stopped. No amount of lies can stop reality. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go and look up in the chat, because it looks as though there are at least 5 or 6, I think probably very good comments that I think I would do well to read. So I'm going to go ahead and look up and see what we have here. Oh, hey Tom Anderson, what's going down, buddy? Yeah, definitely going for the mustache. Even though I'm not really a Richard Spencer fan, for some reason, I don't know, over the past while, I've started to... Because at first I thought he was just kind of a douche. But ever since seeing him on the Brundlefly stream a couple weeks back, I started to kind of like the guy. So now I see him as sort of being a quirky weirdo. And seeing him with a mustache was really funny today, so I decided I'm going to go ahead and grow a mustache. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see. At any rate, here we go. Let's check it out. All right, everyone's been talking about Civil War as of late, all over the interwebs. Yes. The left is doing everything they can to accelerate and to escalate. This is unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Even Tim freaking Pool... I mean, I didn't finish the podcast or whatever. It was like him and this chick and this other dude, and they're talking about the possibility of a civil war. And all I could think was, okay, when you've got Tim Pool, he's a pretty freaking normie norm guy. Like, that dude using the phrase civil war, okay, it's gotten pretty freaking bad when he has to address that topic. So yeah, it's rough out there. I hope it doesn't move in that direction, but we'll see. I was chit-chatting in a chat with a guy who was saying that it was his opinion that the Civil War, if there is, okay, now I think we are in the middle of a civil war, and I think the battles are being waged in courtrooms. The real Civil War is the demographic replacement, the ethnic cleansing of whites in their own homelands. And these wars, these battles, they're taking place in courtrooms. That's my honest opinion, and we are losing. We are losing like you wouldn't believe. And I think that if it goes kinetic, I think if it moves into the 3D world, that will mean that we are at risk of losing everything. We are at risk of the end of it all. I hope that we can move back before then. I hope that we can somehow take things back. There are little tiny inroads. There are a couple of communities here in California that have been rejecting the sanctuary city, which I think is just fantastic. There's a guy in the chat, Levi, who is saying that it was his opinion that one could seek to retroactively strip dreamers and the children of illegal immigrants of residency status or of citizenship. I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's really hardcore. You're talking Trail of Tears stuff. So I'm not going to kid myself. It's not kid stuff. This is not, happy stuff. But it's an idea. It's one way that one could deal with the situation. So I think it's worth contemplation. At any rate, I think I'd like to go ahead and get some crackers, because it's at the 16-minute mark, which I do recognize is very early in the evening, but I think I'd like to go ahead and get just a little bit of food in me. Earlier today, I did have my steak. Well, it wasn't steak. It was chuck. Very good, by the way. And when I had my chuck, I didn't have as much as I think I should have. I only had maybe a couple of ounces or something, but it was really, really good. Seriously. If you don't know how to braise beef, I highly recommend it. Getting chuck is outstanding. Make sure that you cook it very long and at a very low temperature. That way it turns into jello. That's the only way to eat chuck, in my opinion. And that's exactly what I did. Just some mirepoix, some spices, celery salt, things like that. Some red wine. 2.5 hours at about 185 degrees, and boom. 2.5 hours later, you've got beef gelatin. So at any rate, I'm going to have myself some crackers and peanut butter and a little bit of banana, because why not? And while I'm doing that, I'm going to play... what am I going to play? I'm going to play Split Your Infinities by Boards of Canada. This is off of their 2013 album entitled Tomorrow's Harvest. Tomorrow's Harvest is an album that's all about the apocalypse, so it is just a touch of a downer. However, since we're talking about things like civil war, and possible conflicts, I guess it kind of goes along with it thematically. But I just kind of like it. It's sort of Debbie Downer easy listening, but it's kind of neat. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. At any rate, I'm pretty sure that I did deal with these sound levels properly. So I'm going to go ahead and transition. Rest in peace, eardrums, in 3, 2, 1... Alright, looks like that's the tail end of the track. That's Split Your Infinities by Boards of Canada. Big fan. Big freaking fan. That track is near the middle of the album. And truth be told, I honestly do think that the album can be a bit much at times if you're not in the right mindset. It really is a Debbie Downer album. But again, I like Boards of Canada, so I can't help it. I like that album and I like that track. There is a little bit of interesting discussion up here that I kind of like, and I'm going to go over a little bit of it. Julian Groiper says systematic forces are pushing people our direction, but we still have very low human capital. We don't have the agency to seize the initiative to act independently. I actually do agree with that. Even though we do have some people who are highly intelligent and do have the potential for certain kinds of decisive campaigns or actions or activities or whatever, they don't have enough human capital. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. There you go, boom. We just don't have the numbers yet. There's no critical mass just yet. I think that this will change in the coming years, especially as is indicated in a couple of comments from this. Well, here, I'll just continue reading because it is interesting. All right, barriers between Dems are much more pronounced than between whites. Completely agree. The Democrats are, and the progressives especially, they are eating themselves and each other alive. I used to be a Democrat, and oh my God, I would be cast out now. I mean, I grew up with Monty Python. I grew up watching, what was it, the Austin Powers series. The Austin Powers series is now basically heretical. No progressive can watch the Austin Powers series without being triggered. I mean, it's crazy. As where with the white people, my honest opinion is that I think that they're being discriminated against on a net level to such a degree that the differences between various whites is becoming decreasingly important. I could be wrong, but I think that the future is going to end up with whites more or less being forced into the awkward position of having to say to each other, well, we're all in this boat together. I think that's what's going to end up happening, but I don't really know. We shall see. All right. IE may be an exception, but at the moment high agency people are being deterred by the toxic and dysfunctional virtual norms. I know of a number of such cases, and I'd wager they are representative ones. Yeah, for the moment we're just in a stasis area. Big thing people need to learn is that this could take a decade or more before our real guys take power. Prepare for long term and plant those seeds and allow them to grow. Yes, I consider this to be generational, and it's not going to happen for me. I don't think that I'm going to live in the ethno state. I don't think that I'm going to live in the peaceful time that I wish for. However, I do think that it's possible that Gen Z might see it near the twilight of their years. So the way that I'm looking at it is I kind of want to set up something, or at least I want to be a part of a grouping of people that sets up something for the following generations. Because once I check out, it's basically up to millennials and Gen Zs to take the reins. So the idea for myself is to more or less try to, plant the seeds, lay the groundwork. Because once you have groundwork, then it's easier for the next generation to take over and to build on that. So this is what we need. Everything has been undermined so badly by the boomers and by the generation previous. The generation previous especially, no one realizes exactly how corrupted and desiccated morally they were, but they were. They were resting on the laurels of the Victorian era. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way that it was. At any rate, let's continue down. Sin says we need a Zoidlanders type organization. I actually agree with that, especially offline, particularly that. And yes, OV fuck you. It's weird to say it out loud. Makes it sound like I'm actually accusing someone of something. Anyway, yeah, the Democrats are bleeding white people, and it's going to make it worse. The situation is going to accelerate. It's going to be weird. The Democrats are relying at the moment on the Hispanics that they are illegally importing. We need to, like, they got to be put on trial. There needs to be sedition trials. There have to be treason trials. This is not going to solve itself. You can't just vote these people out. They have to be put on trial for treason. They have to be put on trial for sedition. I mean, in one of the chats from earlier today, I was chit-chatting with a guy, and he was saying that he thought that it was kind of freaky that his conception of the Civil War was not actually in terms of groupings of people beyond much more than what you would see in the Berkeley riots, the Portland riots, what happened in Charlottesville, stuff like that. And I largely agree. Provisionally, it could get worse, obviously, but since the wars seem to be the battles, they seem to be taking place in courtrooms. For the moment, it seems as though it's going to remain in the courtrooms, and the possibility of it going kinetic would be in. Now, of course, I am not in any way endorsing what I'm about to say. So I just want to put that out there for anyone that's going to be clipping this. But anyway, I think that, and I don't want to be fed posting, this is awful. I actually fear that this guy's correct, that it could move into vigilante justice, Scalise style vigilante justice. And that does freak me out just a little bit, because that's moving directly into communist revolution style thinking, and I am not pleased with that in the least, but that is a real possibility. And I stress possibility, not probability. Just, it's, out of all the possible futures, it is a possible future. And it does distress me that things are escalating in such a way that it's possible. I don't like that. That's not cool. And before we get to that point, I think that it would be best to exercise all of the legal options that we can, amongst which is put them in freaking jail. Put them on trial for sedition. They are actually, they're violating their oath to the U.S. Constitution. If that oath is legally binding, then god damn it, prosecute them for violating their oath. It should be simple. At any rate, it's very upsetting to me, obviously. Anyway, let's continue down. EM says, I'm not shaving my beard no matter how fashionable you fascists like mustaches. Oh, that's funny. All right, that's funny. I'll take it. I like it. Let's see here. Let's see. I went beard after a crippling depression. There's a lot to be said for the beard, I'll tell you what. There's a nice thing about it, which is that I realized a while back in my 20s that deer have antlers, lions have manes, men have beards. So why not? Why not go for a beard? Let it fly, let it go. Elaine Sabatino says, I like Spencer and that guy Chase too. It shows how white people are the most civilized folk. I can't agree to disagree. Yeah, man. I think we're a good lot. That's what I think. All right, Patrick Lang, who is retired DIA colonel, posted an entry on his blog yesterday comparing the situation in America to pre-Civil Wars in Spain. Really? Oh, I have got to check this out. I am absolutely checking this out. Copying and pasting. I may read that, not tonight, but tomorrow night, because that sounds great. Let's see here. I'm not sure how I'm going to find it, but I'm going to look for it, because I'm pretty sure I should be able to find it. So, at any rate, let's go back to let's go back to the chit-chat. All right. Let's go down further. Do you have any thoughts on asymmetrical urban multicultural warfare? Yes, I do, but they're limited. There's a guy, Little, I think his name is, Liddell, Little, or Liddell. I forget his first name. And he published a book through Vox Day's publishing company about fourth generation warfare, and it specifically is about basically non-standard warfare, where people are not in uniforms and you don't have clear battle lines and theaters and all this good stuff. And the idea was essentially that you get something akin to an insurgency, and in this insurgency you have a bunch non-state actors. That's what they're called. You basically have non-state actors that are vying for power amongst each other or against a government actor. And the majority of it actually does take place in propaganda form. The majority of it takes place in basements through talks and chats and so on. So this brings to mind things like propaganda, getting the word out, so on and so forth. And that does speak to that guy, what was the name that you were just, Patrick Lang. It does speak a little bit to what Patrick Lang was indicating with the idea of a pre-Civil War condition. Before a civil war, the word has to get out that you have even the possibility of a civil war, clearly. Which means that there must be communication that that the possibility of a civil war is even possible. So inherently, necessarily, there must be some form of heated communication indicating clearly drawn lines, whether they be political, ideological, racial, or what have you. And I think that this is more or less where we are right now. Like I say, I do think that we are in the middle of a war. It's undeclared. And the battles are taking place in the courtrooms. That's my honest opinion. I've been repeating that a lot for this stream, but I'm partly trying to remind myself so that when I discuss these things outside of the walls of my little head, I am able to articulate them by reflex action. So at any rate, I'm going to be picking up that book on fourth generation warfare, because I do think that it's going to be important. I'm going to be coming into a little bit, I have very limited means at the moment, but I'm going to come into a little bit of cash in the not too distant future. So I'm going to go ahead and throw down for that book, and hopefully I'll get it in this next month. So I'm looking forward to that. But at any rate, yeah, I'm going to have more to say on the idea of the asymmetrical urban multiculti warfare. The easiest way to say that is Gen 4 warfare, Generation 4 warfare, or fourth generation warfare. So EM, I would say look up Gen 4 warfare. At any rate, let's continue down. A combination between pre-American Civil War political fervor coupled with Weimar conditions. Yeah, that's actually very close to where we are. Let's see here. Everyone who's not an absolute Instagram tier normie sees it, Kuiper. It's obvious at this point. Yeah, I largely agree with that. There are even some pause people that I know personally that are they are emotionally charged, and they do seem, remembering that I'm in Los Angeles. There is a low level of hysteria in certain groups, and it's a hell of a thing to notice. Of course, I'm in a very particularly, that is, a paused area, so my experience is its own weird thing. But let's continue down. I'm gonna jump down just a little bit, just to see where we are. Let's see here. Never seen Purge. Won't dictate my life. Yeah, good, because we should not be moving in the Purge direction. We should avoid that as much as is possible. Sneer Quotes asks if Sin is a Fed. Yes, absolutely, as am I, and at least 1/3 of the chat. So basically everyone here is a Fed. We're all agents of the CIA. One is from the FBI. Fuck that guy. So I'd go ahead and say, you know, mind your P's and Q's, because that's exactly what's going down here, buddy. What else do we have here? Even state actors, see how the environment has changed. For example, there's a paper written by Chinese military academics from the 90s. Really, Julian Groiper, I have got to have you at some point. Okay, I'm going to DM you because I'd like to have you on here for some discussions on some of these ideas, because clearly you've done the quote-unquote deep dive once or twice more than I have, and I'm very interested to hear some of your ideas. At any rate, I mean, of course, obviously, if you have the time. If you don't have the time, that's fine, but, you know, just the invitation is there. At any rate, let's continue down. Teach me about to combat effectiveness of pansexual lesbians on the front line. They're going to be hyper effective, and the only reason they're going to be hyper effective is because they're basically going to be sprinting zombies. So just imagine a bunch of people that have basically no interest in preserving their life. They have nothing to lose, and they hate themselves and the world all around them. There is no reason for them to stop, which means that they become super duper dangerous. Yeah, man, suicide squads. That shit's gonna happen, buddy. Let's continue down. They're importing. Oh my gosh, there is so much going on here. The chat just went crazy. All right. His blog is Six Semper Tyrannis. Oh, nice, good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and okay, Six Semper Tyrannis. That's nice and easy to remember. But of course, I am me. I am going to Control V, because I am lazy. Okay, good. Now that I've got that in there, now we're all happy. Okay, where are we? See, look, Eke Fed posts just fine without me. I totally do. That's so lame. All right, where are we? Yeah, I guess there's actually so much going on in the chat. Okay, Democrats won't survive without whites. I don't know. They might not. It's really tough. Okay, the Democratic Party as it exists right now will not survive without whites. But I think that there's going to be some kind. I think that they're going to be transitioning over to basically being Mexicans, unless of course the Mexicans decide to form their own party. That's possible, but we'll see. I don't have a good model for what's going to happen to the Democrats, because they are imploding. I mean, they can't keep this up forever. Yeah, they can only eat their own for so long. They can only cannibalize for so long. So it will cease to exist in its current form, but we'll see what form it takes, should the word still be used. Okay, let's continue down. I remember watching a Frame Game stream from about 2 months ago, where the guest said if he arrived in a new city, he'd buy one stock in the major companies in the city. Actually, one of the things, okay, this allowed him to get into shareholder meetings. Yeah, that was Saul Alinsky. That was, and I've been thinking about doing something similar myself. I think it'd be really funny to get stock in Twitter, for example, or stock in Microsoft, or stock in Google even. That would be really funny in itself. And the concept was that you could get to these shareholder meetings and you could just cause a ruckus. You could just cause a stir. I think it's a really good idea, to be perfectly honest. Just imagine a bunch of shitlords just all buying stocks and getting into shareholder meetings and then basically shitposting in real life in 3D. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. That would be fantastic, because they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They would have to sit there with all of these like shitlords just right there. You know, I mean, they're shareholders. Do you kick out the shareholders? Do you call security? I mean, would that not be a breach? I mean, it's got to cause such a shit show. I kind of want to do it myself, because I think it'd be really funny. But I mean, I've got so many things going on in my life in general. I mean, to add one more thing might be a bit much, but we'll see. At any rate, I'm gonna just jump around a lot of this stuff because there's so much going on in chat, and it's unfortunate because a lot of it's really interesting. Maybe I'll look up just a little bit just to see what happens. Let's see here. One basic change. between 30s Spain and current year is how doped up both sides are on the soma of consumption and hedonism. You can't mobilize people like that. I actually agree. Yeah, I've seen a lot of even because I know some people that are Republicans, and they are latent alt-light people, and so I mean they're close to being on our side, and even those guys, like, they're not going to be able to do much. You know, they're struggling just to get by. So it's kind of rough, but I mean, whatever. Well, it's possible that we could end up in a situation where people start to get serious, so to speak. Speaking of which, I didn't do my calisthenics today. I'm going to do those before I go to bed. I wasn't eating enough protein. One of the unfortunate things is that I started to really dig eating a close to vegetarian diet, and I stopped eating a lot of meat, which is great and not great at the same time. And recently I only just noticed that I was eating close to vegetarian for, like, I think 2/3 and of my meals throughout the day. And the problem with that is that what ends up happening is that after a day of exercise or whatever, my muscles kind of ache as though they're not regenerating quite the way that they should. So I think I'm going to go ahead and up my protein just a little bit, so that as I exercise, I will ache just a touch less. It'll make it easier to continue doing exercise. So anyway, let's continue down, see where we are. Let's see. They're so open, Trump might kick some ass the next few days in the UK. I hope so. That'd be super cool. What else do we have further down? What to do when inside shareholder meetings. I really think that oh, that's funny, for networking purposes too. Oh, that would be funny. Oh, to infiltrate and even get jobs. That would be awesome. Oh, man. Because then they would have to do, like, continual purges within their own ranks. They would start cannibalizing themselves. You can take them out from the inside on multiple fronts, not only by forcing them to waste resources on training new hires, but also you could start to pass out red pills here and there as well, so that you could get, oh, that'd be funny. Yeah, there's something to that. I was thinking about just going to the shareholder meetings alone and not even worrying about it. Okay, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. All right, let's continue down. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, I have to go all the way down. I have to go all the way down. There's so much going on here. Let's see here. I found it. 4th Gen Warfare by William S. Lind. Yeah, that's the one. That is absolutely the one. And I'm going to be ordering that one. And I was thinking about doing, like, as a meme, Siege Sundays, but I think that I want to get the 4th Gen Warfare Handbook, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and read that in some of the streams and discuss the concepts as we move along, because if you think about it, the way that Antifa works, and even the It's Okay to Be White sticker campaign, this is very consistent with 4th Gen Warfare. If you look at the way that the Battle of Berkeley happened in spring and summer of 2017, same thing. It's basically Gen 4 warfare. So I think that in terms of the physical actions, the kinetic side of it, I don't think we're formally. I think in my head there's still just riots. Politically motivated, of course, but I don't regard them as formal warfare. But yeah, they function basically like 4th Gen Warfare models of activity. Okay, let's continue down, see what we can find. Let's see here. FBI flag its BTFO. You better believe it, buddy. Fuck the FBI. All right, let's continue down. Where are we? Oh my gosh, there's so much. There's such a huge inundation. This is what happens when you talk about an interesting topic. People actually have, like, genuinely interesting things, and it becomes overwhelming. And I'm skipping so much that's interesting too, and I know it. Alpha Ghost says, doesn't the black drug dealer save them from the white police in The Purge? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. This is why you can't take movies seriously, because it ends up being just this giant retardation campaign, but, you know, for like 2 hours and in 3D with, you know, a soundtrack. It's stupid. Okay, Sin says to Easy of an Operator, same here, man. Everything else is just trailers, reviews, and discussion for me. And then Easy Operator says, and that one, it was the black guy who wanted peace while the whites loved the murder. Yeah, that's right. They love to flip it, don't they? It's always the based black man that just wants peace. It's funny. All right, Dems are in a panic right now. Honestly, it's not just hype. I completely agree. I live it. I'm here in Los Angeles. I see it every day. They are freaking the fuck out. It's crazy to watch. I keep my head down. Because it's almost like, what is it? The Mentos in a Coca-Cola bottle. I mean, that's basically what they're like right now. It's really, really bad. Okay, let's continue down. And yes, Mexicans are the biggest problem here in America. That's absolutely true. Aslan is real. I live in Aslan, and it's going to happen probably within my lifetime. Okay, are they? I did see L.A. Wolf yesterday saying the Dems were everything he'd originally feared in life. Oh, L.A. Wolf. Yeah, I got to check that guy's channel out and see what he's doing. Because like a friend of a friend, I know about him, and he seems like an okay guy, so I kind of want to check out his stuff. But yeah, Dems are everything he'd originally feared in life. I should find out what you mean by that, because the left, they're moving into straight ahead ingsoc, and I do find it to be upsetting. I do find it to be distressing. I realized about a year and change ago that I'm now in the position of having to unironically defend free speech. Like, holy shit, there we are, buddy. We're in the thick of it. Okay, let's see here. Alt-right should make allies of blacks. I kind of agree with that. And the reason that I kind of agree with that is because if you think about it from a certain standpoint, blacks don't really want to live with whites. So why should we do anything other than say, okay, well, you don't want to live amongst us, you know, and we think that you guys can be a little bit intrusive as well, so why don't we just go ahead and like partition off our living experiences and just say, all right, well, you've got your area, we've got our area, and we'll respect each other's boundaries. I think that's completely fine. Malcolm X, he would hold talks and discussions with George Lincoln Rockwell. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, why not? I see nothing wrong with that at all. All right, Rumsey says, I have a hunch the world is going to look a lot like Blade Runner 2049. Autistic Euro-Americans trying to do their duty in the face of populist hatred. That's funny. I never finished that. I actually have that movie on my hard drive, and I never finished watching it. Maybe I'll go ahead and finish it. I fell asleep. There is that scene early on in the movie where, Jared Leto's character, he like disembowels a chick for some reason that doesn't make any sense. She's like shat on the floor, and then he just kills her for reasons that don't make any sense. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, we're watching a shocking movie now. Oh, okay, well, let me put on my shocked face. And then I fell asleep about 10 minutes later. Maybe I'll go ahead and finish it. All right, AlphaGo says, I think it's happened already in LA. No, ISIS is Watts Hispanic now. Watts is very likely Hispanic. Compton is Hispanic. All the places where the blacks used to hang out is largely Hispanic. The Mexicans have essentially ethnically cleansed the blacks out of South Central. So I live in Tijuana. I say that all the time because it's true. I live in Tijuana. They eat on the curb here. Mexicans eat on the curb here in my own area where I live. There is street food, and I'm not talking about the trucks that go and park at the curb and you can go to the truck and eat from the truck. No. What I mean is they set up freaking picnic tables, and they set up like weird open-air tents and barbecues, and they start barbecuing on the streets, on the sidewalk. I live in Tijuana. And the police, they don't do anything. They should be cracking. I mean, you should have a license for that. As far as I'm concerned, that's just, I mean, my God. Los Angeles is a third world fucking country now. Anyway, okay, I'm upset. I'm not going to get upset now. Actually, I guess maybe my blood sugar is just a little bit low, so I'm going to go ahead and play another track, and while I play this other track, I'm going to get myself some cracker and some peanut butter and some banana, because that's how we play it here. So this track is Hey Blondie. Now this is actually, I kind of wish that I had rendered all three tracks together, but I did not. This is the beginning part of the middle section of an album entitled Back From Out Where by Eamon Tobin. This is his 2002 release, and this is just as he was getting out of his jazz phase. He is an electro artist from Britain. He is genetically Brazilian, though he is largely culturally UK. And if you look in the background of, I believe it's, okay, I know you can, I'm pretty sure you can see this in the back of Shaun of the Dead. If you look at the background of Shaun of the Dead, there are some posters, and I'm pretty sure one of them is the album cover for this album, and I think it's also featured. This album cover is, I think it's in the IT Crowd, which was a BBC sitcom from some years ago, and also Boards of Canada. You'll see, I think it's Music Has the Right to Children, that album cover on the walls of the IT Crowd in one of the earlier seasons. I think it's season 2. Oh wait, they only had 3 seasons. Anyway, point is, this album made some waves in the UK. That's really all I'm saying, and it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it, and this is the middle track of a 3-track sequence that I happen to really enjoy. And I kind of, now that I think about it, I regret not rendering all 3 in sequence, because it's kind of fun to listen to. But that said, I just like this track. It's a really cool track. So this is Hey Blondie by Eamon Tobin, circa 2002. And with that, rest in peace, eardrums, transitioning in 3, 2, 1...
Oh gosh, I forgot to check the music. I haven't listened to that track in total in months, and I got caught up in the music. I got caught up in the track. Sorry about that. Yeah, most of the I've been going through some of the comments, and yeah, it's funny. It's just everyone has such interesting ideas. There's just too much to go through. I'll never be able to get through all of it. But I'm going to keep going down. Basically, the thing that I guess I've been thinking about recently, that's weird. There's a lot of weird noises coming from the walls right now. Oh no. What if the feds are here? What if my Fed posting induced Fed attention? Dun dun dun. Okay, well, my cat doesn't care, so if she doesn't care, I'm not going to care either. Okay. But yeah, the problem that I have with the direction things are going right now is that it's I guess this is a psychological issue that it just sprang to mind just within the past few minutes, which is that even though we're headed in the right direction, I do have a level of impatience. I do wish excuse me, I do wish that there was a way that I could either accelerate it or, wake more people up, so to speak, or something. Because every so often, it's sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that I'm tired. I bet that's what it is. It's about midnight right now. And when I get tired, I tend to get impatient. Okay, never mind. Scratch that. I'm just impatient because I'm tired. This is a multi-generational thing, and we are going to have to dig in. We are going to have to view this as being a part of the long haul. Someone was saying a little farther up, I think it was, here we are, EM says, reading up on 4th gen warfare, and it seems like people, it kind of seems like people who want to use this tactic would go shoot up a school. Of course, yeah, anytime you have a disturbed person, they will use whatever they have at hand, whatever tool they have at hand, to do something bad. But this concept was developed by Lind, and Lind is, if I recall correctly, he's ex-military. So he's coming at Gen 4. Excuse me. He's coming at Gen 4 warfare from a military standpoint. So I view it as being fundamentally a military text in the same way that I view The Art of War as being a military text. I mean, you can apply it if you want. Infamously, The Art of War was applied to business back in the 1980s in the financial sectors, but it's still fundamentally a book that's about warfare. It's about the military, and I think that it should be viewed as such. Similarly, with Gen 4 warfare, I think that it should only be viewed as a military stratagem, and the way that I am viewing the ethnic cleansing of white people from their own homelands, from our own homelands, I view this as being an act of war. And in this context, I do think that Gen 4 warfare is something to be considered. The idea of applying it to merely a school shooter is that a school shooter is just some random douchebag that's, he's got a limited goal that's going to deal with a couple of people, but outside of that, there's basically no point to it. So I think that to think of Gen 4 warfare in those terms is kind of missing the point, but that's just me, at any rate. Let's continue down and see what we've got. I do read stuff black people don't like because he has the facts of how shocking these people are when left to run their own towns and cities. New Africa. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a thing to look into, which I don't want to, but every so often I think to myself I should start looking into the way that Detroit and Chicago politics run, or St. Louis, Missouri, any place you've got a large concentration of black people, just to get a gauge on how black people operate within our civilization. Okay, let's continue down. Toast Stone was talking about people getting together. Kindred are the most peaceful way to create communities alongside this death cult we live in, to build a network of kindreds, chiefs, thanes, and finally Jarls, until we have enough pull in society, remove the cults out of power structure of our society. That would be difficult, but theoretically not impossible. I would say the best thing to do really would be to balkanize, basically, which may well happen. And the idea would just be to put trust and faith and work and effort into local communities and reject anything that's centralized. So U.S. federal government, that's centralized. The European Union, that's centralized. And do everything on a local level. But that's just me. Anyway, let's continue down. Jose is lethal and will always be lethal. A few unicorns is not even worth it. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there, but it sounds like a hell of a thing is being discussed. I like the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 storyline. Laser air defense missile. Laser air defense made missile and air combat somewhat obsolete made sense. Oh yeah, okay, I think I see what's going on there. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, let's continue down. Blacks fighting Mexicans is ultimately in their interest. Let's see here. I'd give reparations to blacks if they would fight the Mexicans. Oh yeah. They may or may not. I mean, in Los Angeles, they did not fight back. They're just ethnically cleansed as a matter of course. And I think it's just simply the way that it is in general. I mean, the successive waves of Mexicans is just unbelievable. You wouldn't believe it. It's just unending, and it's a wave. It's like a tidal wave. You know those videos that you see from the, I think it was 2011, the tidal wave, or 2010, the tidal wave in Japan. Just because there's a lot of security footage of it. Yeah, like it looks unbelievable. It looks kind of silly when you first see it approach, but then it just doesn't freaking stop. And then out of nowhere, you're terrified for your life. That's kind of what it's like here. Alright, let's continue down. Strikers said, do not join the Zog slave military. Makes complete sense, but I feel bad for the good men who serve the Globo-Homo complex. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. There's a lot to be said for going into the military, only in as much as it teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to be a better person. I do think that the military does send people off to completely, not only unnecessary, but self-damaging wars and conflicts. So I do agree with the idea that going into the military these days is something that would be less than ideal. The Coast Guard wouldn't seem to be too bad. At least it's just restricted to more or less where we are. But at any rate, let's continue down. Let's see here. Striker said, yeah, I just read that one. I was raised in the army. Don't join. My whole fam has been in it. I joined this army instead. Yeah, I've got some family that was in the military, and the majority of them came out of it completely fine, totally safe and sane. But I've heard some stories that make me think I'm really glad I didn't join. But whatever. Alright, we shall continue down. Wow, how can that be? Oh, I don't know what's going on there. Someone is talking to AlphaGo, but I'm not sure where that conversation stops and starts. Let's see here. Snugsplug says, I just don't want trannies taking dilation breaks when they're supposed to be providing air support. Oh, God. Oh, gosh, that's a bit much, buddy. Okay. Alright, let's keep going. Alright, and White Scorpio says, good tracks. Hey, thanks, buddy. That's awesome. I like some of these tracks that I do play. Alright, let's continue down. I feel like the most blacks I've encountered on a political level have been conditioned talking points from their universities and black community leaders. It's always the same shit. Rarely does the argument move forward. I completely agree. they're largely parroting. Okay, so the idea with cultural Marxism and deconstructionism and all this good stuff is the only thing you're really doing is asking questions and tearing down, and that's it. And it comes from the simple assumption that everything white people do is evil. Everything about Western civilization is evil. Everything about men is evil. It always comes from an oppressor and victim standpoint. So all you have to do is take two people. One person is one up and one person is one down. The person who is one up is automatically the oppressor. The one who is one down is automatically the victim. So everything stems from that. Literally everything stems from that. All any one of these people ever have to do is just walk into a room, take a visual census of what's going on, and then just identify, okay, that person is taking a shower, they're an oppressor. That person is not taking a shower. The one who has not taken a shower is a victim. Moving on. Now I get to attack the person who took a shower. That's just how they work. I'm not joking. Okay, let's continue down. I keep reminding myself of this little tidbit about modern warfare. U.S. Marines were accused of executing people in Iraq because of the number of headshots they were getting. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, there we are. All right, let's see. Continuing down, we need to convince high yellow blacks to say our points. Market him to the other blacks. Some do this with the thoughts already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's good to have allies. You know, not to pull out the word, standard leftist rhetoric or anything, but it is good to have allies. It is good to have people who are on your side, who are not of your group, so that you've got a wider base of support. I mean, obviously, everything is provisional. Everything comes with qualifiers. But just in general, it would be a good idea. I would just be careful about putting too much effort and energy into people or groups that are not your own. But I mean, whatever. Everything requires balance. I'm pretty sure you already know that. So, okay, let's continue down. Eamon Tobin has been around since the late 90s. 95, actually. His first EP was out in 95. And then his first album was 96. Wait, was it 94 or 95? I think it was 95. And then his, because Bricolage came out in 97. That was his first album under Eamon Tobin. But Adventures in Foam, when he went under Cujo, I think that was 96. So I would say it wasn't the late 90s. I would say it was the mid 90s. But I mean, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's now I'm quibbling about what, like 3 years, whatever. Okay, and now I'm being stupid. Sorry about that. But yeah, Eamon Tobin's awesome. Anyone that doesn't know about Eamon Tobin should totally check it out. Let's see here. Kanye Can Stay. His new album is great. Maybe I'll check out his new album. I listened to like one track of. I'm not really a Kanye fan, to be perfectly honest. But I remember listening to a couple of his tracks here and there and actually being genuinely impressed. He's really good at production. Okay, let's continue down. Where are we? Thomas Sowell has been based lately too. I should check out Thomas Sowell more. I was listening to some Thomas Sowell as he was like threatened with death by other black people. That was a hell of a thing to listen to. All right, let's continue down. I like Duvid for two reasons. He's a walking red pill, and he's funny. Yeah, Duvid red pilled me on the JQ by being himself. So, yeah. Okay, let's continue down. I'm not against women voting. My mother is pretty alt-right on everything, bar personal relationships. That's cool. That is cool. I like Rumsey's one household, one vote. I like that idea the best, actually, to be perfectly honest. All right, Sin says Eke was about to embrace the truth of accelerationism. Yeah, well, I am, actually. It's completely where I am. Let's continue down. Let's see here. Paul Beckman says to OFY, I think he has too much pride in seeing the facts. Just look at the world. You will see reality. I wonder who we're talking about. Let's see here. OFE is talking about Ann and Wyatt. Oh, wait, no, but that's a dude, or that's a chick. Let's see here. He can be convinced. Who are we talking about? Okay, we are approaching the time for me to have one more snack. So for the moment, I am going to prepare myself for a snack. I'm going to play, this is As a Child by Alone. This is off of his 2013 album, so I'm going to go ahead and play this because I suddenly got really hungry and really lightheaded, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go through the chat right now. So here is As a Child by Alone. Rest in peace, eardrums, in 3, 2, 1.
See what nature should look like.
Okay, that was Lone with As a Child. That was featuring Machine Drum, which is another electro group. I'm not really a fan of Machine Drum, but it's a good track. What are you going to do? Good track is a good track. So there you go. At any rate, there is a comment up here that I thought was funny. Balkanized yesterday says, I think aliens walk among us. They wear human suits. I actually agree with that. But for reasons that might sound retarded and kind of are retarded. It's my view that since psychopaths are cognitively not human, they may as well be aliens. And my favorite woo-woo theory of psychopaths is that they are, in essence, like a jinn, right? The jinn, like a genie. You know, the Arabs, they call them the jinn, which are like spirits, basically. You could consider them like demons. What was it? I forgot. I think it was The Exorcist. There was a demon that was discussed in that movie, Iranian or something, or maybe it was Iraqi. I forget the name of it. Anyway, the idea was that it was some kind of some kind of a demonic spirit that would inhabit a human body and take it over. And there does seem to be, if you look at it from a certain standpoint, late at night in the dark, while you are feverishly clutching a Bible and thinking about things in a rather whimsical mood. Yeah, I think that you could go ahead and say that psychopathy does resemble demonic possession in a way. And in this sense, I would say, yeah, sure, hey, you know, why not? I mean, they're Alex Jones is talking about something very similar to what David Icke was talking about. David Icke always goes on about the blood-sucking, baby-eating, shape-shifting, interdimensional lizard people. And when Alex Jones was on the Joe Rogan podcast thing, I think it was the 9/11 one, but I don't remember. He ended up, Alex Jones went on a similar tangent where he was talking about extra-dimensional beings that were taking over people. And I think that you could make an analogy out of it to say that the way that psychopaths think, I mean, they have all of the necessary hardware. They have the brain that's capable of having these mental states, but that brain is not active. The prefrontal cortex is not active. And there's evidence to suggest that the prefrontal cortex is capable of acting in a psychopath. It's just that they don't engage it. Again, this is why I think that there is something to be said for an analogy. Whether you believe in it or not is a different concept entirely. That's a different idea entirely. So I don't want to go too far with it, only because the temptation is to take it seriously, and I want to be careful about that, because you could end up with a tulpa. And a tulpa is when you take an idea so seriously that it begins to manifest because you are making it manifest. And I would want to be careful about I would want to be careful about discussing and describing things and thinking about things to such a degree and in such a way that they do manifest. This is one of the issues with, for example, the Civil War. The Tim Pool, he did reference this concept on a conceptual level when he was in his little podcast talking with this chick and this dude. And he was saying something about how the media is, to a large degree, responsible for pushing the Civil War concept. And he ended up pointing the finger right back at himself, rightly so, by saying, well, but if that's the case, I'm responsible for this too, because I'm doing it too. I'm also talking about the Civil War, so this happens on all sides. And I couldn't help but think, nice, Tim Pool has a moment of clarity. That's outstanding. At any rate, oh wait, did I do my volume? Oh, I did. Oh, thank God. Whew. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I just want to be careful about creating a tulpa because the whole Civil War thing. Like, if you're talking about it, if you're obsessing about it, if you're organizing your life to deal with the Civil War, on a certain level, you're kind of responsible for bringing it about on a certain level. I'm not saying that I agree with that fully. I'm just saying that seen from a certain standpoint, you're a part of it. I get that. And that's all I mean by when I think about things like the jinn, the little critters that could be invading our bodies and our minds. I just want to be careful about taking them too seriously, because there is evidence to suggest that there are things that are outside of our 3D experience that do come in. This is why I do not excuse me, this is why I do not fuck with astral projection at all, because you are essentially saying that there is such a thing as a soul, and I'm going to step outside while something else steps inside. And that puts you in a vulnerable vulnerable position. And if it's true, if it's real, which for me the jury is out on that, but if it's true the way that it's presented, then that would basically mean that you are at risk every time you do it, and I would not want to be in that position. So, this is basically me saying that, yeah, I'm well aware of the woo-woo. I love stories. I love high weirdness. I love creep fests. I love when people tell me ghost stories late at night with, dimmed lights and whatnot. It's fantastic. And I only half believe these things, and I half don't. But at any rate, let's continue down and see where we are. Nice. Apparently some people do believe in jinn and aliens and so on. That's outstanding. That's awesome. I love it. Rosemary Guiley. I guess Rosemary's Baby we're talking about now. That's funny. Okay. Stryker is better than Enoch according to OFY. That's kind of cool. Based spooky stream. Yeah, I love spooky. Spooky's awesome. And yeah, the volume is a little bit low. That sucks. Let's see here. Yeah, it is always. I'm thinking about getting a program to plug in so that I can get the volume a little higher. Trivium is saying that the sound is a little better tonight. Part of that is because I'm right up against the microphone, so that's a good portion of it right there. And where are we? Okay, I don't see. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's where we are there. Yeah, we should. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should do a because there is. Okay, so I wanted to read that one guy's thing. Who was it? It was Patrick Lang's thing from Sixth Semper Tyrannis. So I might read that tomorrow, and maybe in one of the coming streams in the not too distant future, I'll look at some kind of a neat spooky story and then read a spooky story. I actually think that'd be kind of fun. I actually think that'd be really cool to find a cool spooky story that's more or less in line with some of the stuff that we talk about. That'd be so rad. Okay. In the not too distant future, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, yeah, Paul unironically believes in Christ now. I love it. Yeah, I saw that post too. That was outstanding. I love it so much. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to call the stream in just a little while, like in the next 5 minutes or something, because I'm starting to get a little bit tired, and it's definitely time for bedtime. Okay, Alpha Ghost says, yes, psychic warfare is coming via synthetic telepathy, at least, so we need to be mentally strong. Well, I don't know about that, but who knows? Weird things have happened in the past, so how the hell would I know? I've heard of all kinds of creepy, weird stuff that's kind of half real, kind of half not real. Rumsey asks, Red Pill me on astral projection, CIA transportation, more or less, yeah. There were some, quote, experiments that were discussing astral projection. The idea was to look at other planets or whatever. So you would have this person do their astral projection thing and then describe off-world events or something like that. And apparently, in a couple of cases, there were some tests where somebody did astral project and they managed to verify some of the stuff that they were doing. But, you know, all of this is hearsay. I don't know much about it, to be perfectly honest. I think it's interesting to hear about, but I largely don't believe it, but I like to keep just enough of an open mind that maybe if I hear some evidence to verify some of these claims, I would be willing to change my position. But on a provisional level, I say that I don't really believe in astral projection. I understand the concept, but I'm on the fence about how real I think it is. As a meme, it's hilarious though, and I would love to make jokes about it right now, but I'm just a little too tired to do that. Let's see here. Let's continue down. Eke is doing a solo camping stream this weekend. I think I might. I'm not even joking. It sounds kind of fun. It sounds like a cool thing to do. Oh yeah, remote viewing. Yeah. I remember hearing a little bit about that from I think it was Cliff High and somebody else. I used to love Cliff High. I think I want to go ahead and look into Cliff High again, see what he's doing. Because some of these woo-woo guys, I used to love them so much. And my favorites were always like the little weirdos that had like tiny little channels or tiny little whatevers, and they just sort of hung out in their own little corner with like a couple hundred views on their videos, and they were my favorites by far. And Cliff High was amongst my favorites of those guys. Yeah, Cliff High and the bots, dude, the spiders, hell yeah. Freaking, dude, his Alta reports were incredible. They read like novels, and somehow they were infinitely more interesting than any of the fiction that I had read. I was reading Cliff High back in 2011 through 2013, and his last report, I think it was 2016. His last Alta report was 2016 because he started getting problems with feedback loops. Because every time, okay, so the quick rundown is that Cliff High is this freaking weirdo from Puget Sound, and what he would do is he would create little bots that would troll language in certain websites, and what he would do is assign an emotional value to language, to words, and then he would have the bots pick out what words were being used or whatever. Oh, that's right. The important part was that anytime a person comes up with a new word, rather anytime they use a word that is outside of their normal lexicon, the usage of that word that is outside of their normal lexicon is a hint at prescience. So the idea was to you'd have to scan language generally from a specific source, and then you would have to pick up the introduction of new words or additions to the lexicon, any kind of aberration, because it's those aberrations that are the hint at prescience. This, by the way, speaks to my model that thoughts do not come from us; thoughts actually come from outside of us. At any rate, the language bots, they would assemble. Rather, Cliff High would have to put together these word patterns in coherent ways so that a general story or narrative would tend to form or become visible. So with his reports, there was an element of creativity to them, but that element of creativity was based on the assumption that there is some level of prescience that is expressed anytime you use words that are outside of your normal lexicon. And some of the stuff that this guy would come up with, oh my God, it was just incredible. He called, by the way, the you remember the decapitation of those reporters by ISIS? he called that like 2 years before that happened. With his reports, his Alta reports called that 2 years before that happened. So this guy, I mean, you can make fun of him all day long, but he actually got hits. So as far as I'm concerned, it's I mean, it's not 100% legit because he did make mistakes. There are things that never did seem to manifest. But at the same time, he did get hits. So anyway, it's just interesting. I used to love the guy. I thought he was great. So anyway, let's see if there's anything else going down here. I don't think so. Oh wait, here I've got a couple of. I got an at. King Kush says, "Bring a gong to Forest and remake Alan Watts' conversation with myself." I love it. I love it. That'd be really funny. You, me, and Alan Watts. Boom, done. Sin says, "I'm awesome." Eke is at I'm awesome. Let's see here. Yawn, not for me. Bye bye. Oh yeah, it's fine. Eke is definitely into vaporwave, new wave. Hang around for more dedicated music streams. Oh yeah, well, I mean, if I'm awesome isn't into this, then you know, by all means, don't bother yourself to hang out. Let's see here. No worries. I just get bored as fuck on these types of discussions on paranormal. Yeah, it's not for everyone. And truth be told, I'm well past paranormal. In all honesty, it's interesting stuff. It's just that it doesn't go much of anywhere, and that's my main problem. It's interesting, but largely a cul-de-sac. So I always have kind of a mixed feeling on it. Like, yeah, it's interesting. It makes for great ghost stories, and I freaking love ghost stories, and that's the only reason I'm into it, is because I want it to be real. I want aliens to be real. You know, I want astral projection to be real. How much cooler would reality be if there are freaking aliens with saucers flying around doing stuff, buzzing radar stations? That would be so cool. I want that. I want a rocket ride to the moon. That's really all I'm saying. Okay, anyway, let's see here. EM says, "Thanks for reading all of our $0 super chats tonight." Yeah, that's right. Cheers, EM. That's fine. Yeah, that's the way that I do it. I enjoy the exchange. I genuinely enjoy the exchange. So at any rate, I don't know if anyone can hear that. I don't know if anyone can hear that, but it was just making the noise just now. That little pause that I was doing, I was listening to the noise. I don't know if anyone heard that, but that was the freaking noise. It's so irritating. I'm going to have to, like, I'm probably just going to have to either put in earplugs or, like, listen to a stream or something, because it's just obnoxious. It's so irritating. Oh, my God. Anyway, yeah, it's a ghost. It's exactly what it is. I'm going to be freaking haunted, buddy. Okay. Alright. I see people who are hard all day on paranormal are simply trying to manipulate you. Yeah, actually, one of my we're going to do a campfire stream. I don't know when, but we're going to do a campfire stream. I think that the best day to do a campfire stream would, let's see, today is Wednesday, is it? Yeah, well, I mean, it's moving into Thursday. I think the best day would probably be like Saturday or Sunday. Probably Saturday. I don't know why, but campfire day seems like a Saturday affair for some reason. So I might do it on Saturday. But yeah, the idea of paranormal being used for manipulation purposes, I actually do think this is the case. I genuinely do think that people who push the paranormal stuff in certain spheres, in certain areas, like you can sniff out a true believer and you can sniff out a bullshit artist. And the ones that are true believers, there's two major versions of that. There's your fucking retard, and there's also your big brain nibba. The only reason that I was willing to go along with Cliff High was because he was a big brain nibba. So in this regard, I was willing to take what he had to say relatively seriously, in as much as he was intelligent enough to understand when he was being, fucked with by someone. So I do feel like there's something to be said for a person who is intelligent enough to examine something and come to reasonable conclusions. So for me, this is why it's always provisional. I half believe it and I half don't believe it. So anyway, everyone looks like they're all getting ready for taking off, and I gotta go too. So this is a perfect time to call the stream. So I'm going to announce let's see, the worst manipulators believe their own lies. Yes, I agree with that. I'm going to call the stream now, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do the campfire stream this weekend. So I just got to find myself a neat story, and that's what we're going to do. At any rate, I'm going to call the stream, and as per usual, rule number 1, always treat every firearm like it's loaded. Rule number 2, never cover or sweep anything you are not willing to destroy. Rule number 3, your finger stays off of the trigger until your sights are on target. And the 4th and final rule is be aware of your target and what's beyond it. Safety first. As per usual, brush your teeth, floss. You don't have to floss all of them, just the ones you want to keep. Drink some water and get some exercise. Alright guys, we're going to play everyone's favorite track. Well, by everyone I mean me. Sleepwalkers by Lone. Rest in peace, eardrums, in 3, 2, 1.